Hello, everyone. It's Rosalind again, and it's time for Real Talk Now Wednesday with Roz on Jesus Sprinkle. Do you know that a cowboy can teach us all life lessons? Lessons in life that are so simple yet powerful. Powerful lessons. Today, we will focus on a few powerful lessons from noted cowboy Will Rogers and discuss how we can use those life lessons in our daily lives to make positive, positive life changes. You see, real cowboys did not need to show their strength with their guns. They only used their weapon when they needed to really use that weapon. Now, we're speaking of a real cowboy. They didn't find excuses for themselves when they were acting in a negative way. They just readjusted and made corrections when they needed to. And you know what they did? They let their accomplishments speak for them. Now, the quotes we are going to discuss today are my interpretation of the meaning, which is subjective. There are no wrong answers here. There are no right answers here because this is what I hear or this is what I see when I read these quotes. Let's get started. Now, always drink upstream from the herd. A herd may leave impurities in the water that we drink. And it's not wise to drink from that same water source because it can cause illness and maybe even death. To me, this means above all else, guard your heart. Guard it because everything you do flows from it, the heart. And don't allow negativity to cause you to present yourself in a negative manner. In other words, what I'm saying, let's be proactive and not reactive when we are faced with difficult situations. Yes. Never squat with your spurs on. Now, to me, this means do not do something that is not wise. Let's try to seek wise counsel from someone that we trust. Now, have you ever put your foot, have you ever put your foot in your mouth and did something that you later regretted? Yes, yes, yes. I've done that many times. And we must remember that when a negative seed is planted, it can produce unhealthy fruit. Ooh, and that fruit is not easily turned into good fruit because once you plant it, it may take root. Yes. Now, there are two theories to arguing, fussing with a woman, and neither one works. What this means is that we often try to prove we are right and that no other can tell us anything. This is wrong. And the only person that believes this is a misnomer. We all can learn from someone. We are presenting ourselves as a fool if we believe that we cannot learn from anyone or that we know it all. Let's stop attempting to be the change agent in someone else's life and focus on the life that has been blessed upon us. Stop trying to change others. Stop trying to prove you're right. Just work on self. Don't worry about biting off more than you can chew because your mouth is probably a whole lot bigger than you think it is. What this is mean is that you're stronger than you think. And in time, you will see those gifts that have been instilled in you by Christ. Embrace that we are uniquely made, and the gifts and abilities are singular to you, to me. No one other can do the gifts that God has bestowed upon us like we can. Don't be afraid to allow growth and change to occur. Keep it moving. If you think if you get to thinking you're a person of some influence, try ordering around somebody else's dog. I love that one. What this means to me is that we can't always be the chief. We must sometimes be the Indian. A sign of a good leader is to have the ability to also follow as well as being led, or as well as being the leader. We may be talented, no doubt. Many are talented, but we can always enhance how we function and how we do things in life. Never stop learning. Yes. Another one is after eating an entire bull, a mountain lion felt so good he started roaring. He was happy, feeling proud of his accomplishments. He kept it up until a hunter came along and shot him. This means when you're full of pride or arrogance, if you're full of self-fulfillment, it can lead to death if we don't watch and purge of it. Death of our relationship with our Father and death of our accomplishments. Stay grounded, family, and focus, purge, and feel the weight lift. Another one is if you find yourself in a hole, the first thing to do is stop digging. Stop trying to solve problems yourself. How many times have we dug a deeper hole because we are not staying in our own lanes? We are not using our own abilities, but trying to do something that has been charged to another. Put down the shovel, family, because it is too much work for us. Yes. Another is never smack a man who's chewing tobacco. The idea here is being that you should not underestimate your adversary. We may think we are powerful or wise, but there may be someone lurking that will surprise you because they may have tricks that will take us by surprise. We can apply this when we attempt to fight the enemy without allowing our Father to conquer as he has done and will continue to do, because we keep trying to underestimate our ability and underestimate the ability of the enemy. Another is if you don't take a genius to spot, let me rephrase that. It don't take a genius to spot a goat in a flock of sheep. I'm going to say that one again. It don't take a genius to spot a goat in a flock of sheep. What this means is just stop and watch, because everyone will show their hand in a very, very short time. If they have negativity about them, it will soon be shown. Be wise in our choices and do not attempt to rationalize negative behavior. Believe what you see. Never ask a barber if he thinks you need a haircut. We all know about that one. This means to avoid seeking counsel or advice from someone who will personally benefit from the outcome, because they will say whatever necessary to seek their reward rather than providing the advice that you are looking for and that you need. Take caution, family. We're going to someone that does not possess the ability to be non biased and a person that is selfishly motivated. Stay away. Never follow good whiskey with water unless you're out of good whiskey, of course. This means seek out the best counsel and don't water down the truth. Yes. Sometimes the truth is not easy to hear, especially if it is convicting us to change. Sometimes conviction hurts, but it's needed. Don't be afraid. Pray about it and just listen. Remember, if someone waters it down so we can receive it, this may be needed until we can accept a change is needed. Good judgment comes from experience. And a lot of that comes from bad judgment. I love that. Good judgment comes from experience, and a lot of that experience comes from bad judgment. Yes, that is so true. We often learn hard lessons from trials and errors, sometimes more errors than trials. And we know trials and errors involve us doing something and discovering that we did not do it effectively and efficiently, which brings about us attempting again until we get it right. Yes. Experience is a good teacher, as my girl Mickey Howard would say, but those lessons learned can be painful. Yes. Never stop your gun to hug. No, never drop your gun to hug a grizzly. I told you some of these are just hilarious, and it's getting me tongue tied. They're so hilarious. Never drop your gun to hug a grizzly. Family, this tells us to use common sense, point blank. Don't trade in one bad decision for an equally bad decision. An example is when a person stops one bad habit or addiction, and the void is filled with something that may be soothing, but may not be good. We may stop the old addiction, but we pick up something else equally bad for us or worse. Does that sound familiar? If you're riding ahead of the herd, this is another one. Take a look back every now and then to make sure it's still there. Make sure what's behind you is still there and you haven't left it behind. This means to not get ahead of ourselves. Don't rush to the finish line, family, because we may forget some powerful life lessons and the journey it took to get to the end. It also means not to forget those that were there to pull us up, to pull us back, to help motivate and stand in the gap with us. When we are battling our Goliath, we needed those to help us. Don't forget them, because we don't walk this journey alone. Another is when you give a lesson in meanness to a critter or a person, don't be surprised if they learn that lesson. This means be careful what you show. If we are trying to show Christ, We don't show. Be careful not to show the enemy. If we want to show positive attributes and we want someone to listen to those positive attributes, we can't be nasty. We can't be ill tempered, moody, and still expect someone to pay attention to what we say. It's not going to work. Another is when you're throwing your weight around, be ready to have it thrown around by someone else. Mm. What this means is be careful what you say and how you address someone. If we are approaching someone with harsh words or with harsh criticism, brace yourself. Brace yourself because they may match that same energy. If we are not able to take the dart that is thrown at us, don't throw a dart because receiving it can hurt. Often the most outspoken people are the most sensitive. Remember that. Letting the cat out of the bag is a whole lot easier than putting it back in. Child. Once we say something that is hurtful, it is hard taking it back. How often have we been reactive and said something that we wish we had not said? Mm. We try to go to that person over and over again to apologize. Sometimes, depending on the severity of the words, may have fractured or injured a relationship so much that it may have been severed. That's not good. But that's the consequence of saying things that we don't think about before we say them. Try practicing the 24-hour rule. That's something that I have to practice on a regular basis. That's the 24-hour rule when we have been offended. This 24-hour rule, the 24-hour rule involves waiting a minimum of 24 hours, if possible, to respond to a heated situation. I try to do this because it gives the opportunity for me to process. It gives me the opportunity to calm myself. And it gives me the opportunity to speak without the smoke behind my words. Believe me when I say it does work. Often after waiting this time, we find that the situation is simply not even worth addressing. If that's the case, shake it off and move on. But if it still bothers you, make sure you go to that person and address it, but do it in a way that they will receive it. Yes. Another is always take a good look at what you're about to eat. It's not so important it's not so important to know what it is, but it is critical to know what it once was. In other words, it's important to know a person's past. That way you can understand whom that person is today. Because everyone has a story, and sometimes that story dictates their personality. The past has dictated our future. The importance of whom we are today is a lesson learned. If we recognize the achievements along the way that may have stemmed from that past. Family, let's celebrate the victories. Celebrate them all. The victories that are great and the victories that are small. Yes. I didn't realize, but that rhymed. That was a good one. Now, The quickest way to double your money is to fold it over and put it back in your pocket. In other words, don't give in to quick fixes and promises of instant gratification. Pace yourself. In life, anything that we want to last is going to take work. Yes, it is. And that work means it is going to take time to achieve. Mm. Do look for the finish line. Look for the finish line, but take baby steps sometime to get to that finish line. Take it bit by bit so we don't get overwhelmed on the journey and in the process of getting to the finish line. Because if you get overwhelmed, you may give up and not reach the finish line. Yes. Never miss a good chance to shut up. I haven't mastered that one yet. Sometimes it is healthy to just shut our mouth and be an active listener. We should not be afraid of an opportunity to be a student. Because in order to continue to prosper in life, we must keep learning life. Yes. So sometimes don't talk, just be quiet. And finally, never kick a fresh cow chip on a hot day. Y'all know what that means. This means if we take on something we ain't got no business taking on, we ain't got no business taking it on, the result may be really, really bad. I equate this to staying, and I also to staying in our own lane and stop trying to take on something that God did not inspire for us. Because it's not doing, because in doing so, we may mess up royally. Yes. Now, family, if you would like to be a part of the Jesus Sprinkle and Real Talk Now family, just send me a friend request, Rosalind Green Price on Facebook, and I will make sure that you're added to both forums so you can see the wealth of info that we put out regularly. Blessings, family.